Is 11 a.m. on August 19th. This is the budget meeting for the Academy Row Meeting House Green service area. In the room, we have representatives from your management team. We Ray Furbez, your finance manager, myself, general manager. We have Alex, your service area director, and Delise, your service area admin. On the line right now, we have Charles Richards, the Pro Board liaison to the service areas, and then in person, we have Smitty Sipes, one of the committee members. Since we don't have a quorum of the committee, we just can't make any actionable items. There's no action items on this agenda anyway, so we'll just continue to hold it. And so that way your community, when we post this, can see what the discussion was based around the budget and things like that. So with that, what we're going to do is I'm going to pass it to Ray to do a full, just a run through of the whole thing. And then, well, usually we would pass it to collect all questions and then go through. But since it's just you, we can just kind of more open a dialogue there.
No worries.
And then we'll just conclude at the end of the meeting by asking, what does this committee have as far as, contradictory recommendations to the budget? There may be things that we can be in agreement on. If so, we're going to make those changes today. If there's things that we're not aligned on, we're going to categorize those and write those down so we can provide the board a recommendation of a budget from our end, and then any committee recommendations as well. With just one person, we may just need to follow up with some messaging.
Totally get it. So one question before we go through this budget, because I know we can change this one live. On the thing you sent me for the reserves budget, do we have the capability to change that live, or that's the PDF you guys have as well?
We don't have capability to change the reserve studies. Those are done by the reserve advisors when they're on it.
Because they're wrong. That's the only reason. Like it has the wrong amounts that we have in reserves already on stuff. So I'd love to recalculate the numbers so that it gets us the correct. Like we're off by $300,000 in the reserve study that we have.
Okay. Yeah, we'll dive into that.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do. Like, if we could do it that way, we would get a better idea of what we have in reserves,
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and go into this.
All right. With that, I'll pass it to Ray.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're fine.
Okay, so starting from the bottom up, for next year, we'll see a monthly assessment due of $408 with 72 cents.
Okay.
Represents an increase of $32 with 42 cents. An 8.6% over dues that you guys are currently paying for 2025.
Who's the committee?
That's right. He's our other committee member.
Hi there.
Right, they're going to go through this budget first, and then we're going to go ask questions then.
Sorry.
And that's Ray. He's our finance guy.
Okay.
Down there on the end.
Hey, Ray.
As I was saying, for 2026, we're proposing a monthly assessment due of $480 with 72 cents. That's an increase over the current dues for 2025 of $32 with 42 cents, or an 8.6% increase.
Okay.
As you can tell, there has been increases basically in all of your lines, except for the reserve fund allocation. If we start with the landscaping agreement, currently we're still under contract. The amount for 2026 is going to be the same one for 2025, which is going to be $39,360. Then we have the landscape not in contract agreement for any services, landscape related that are not covered in the current agreement that we have in place. That stayed flat with the budget that we have for 2025 at $24,300. We added a new line. This line is new for all service areas. This is related to tree trimming. There was a change in the CCDD policy regarding the tree trimming, so that's where we're adding this additional line. We can go over this more in detail later on. During this meeting, we're adding $95 per door. That represents $5,600 for this line alone. This is one of your biggest increase on this budget for next year. We have the irrigation repairs. We've seen that for 2025, you guys have quite a bit of expenses related to irrigation repairs. Up to June 30th, you have spent $5,200. That's why we're estimated for next year $5,000. Even though if we continue with the same run rate up to June 30th, we might end up the year with $10,000 expenditures in this line. Hopefully that's not the case. We have water. We're seeing a slight increase here, very similar to the actuals that we received for 2024. For 2025, we budgeted for $6,000. Up to June 30th, you have spent $3,200, and you might end up a little bit over budget at $6,500 by the end of the year, which is why we're estimating $6,800 for next year.
Okay.
In terms of electricity, we're keeping electricity flat. We have seen the 2025 numbers align with budget, which is good. That's why we're keeping the same number for 2026. For general maintenance, we estimated, or we had a budget of $2,300 for 2025. Costs up to June are only $600. You might not hit at the end of the year the full $2,300. Which is why we lower a little bit this line, and we're estimating $2,000 for next year. Moving on to roof repairs. In roof repairs, we left the budget flat at $5,000. Even though for 2025, you've only spent up to June 30th, $1,100. You might not use the full $5,000, so this might be a line that if you guys want to suggest for us to lower it, this could be for you guys. We have a placeholder for potential repairs in terms of fence and sidewalks as well. That's only $500. Then for the pressure washing, we decided to split those lines for the next year so that we can track the cost better. We have a line for the spring pressure washing and then another one for fall pressure washing. What we did is that for 2025 spring pressure washing, since we already saw the cost coming in, we're adding a 5% increase for next year. It's not guaranteed that we're going to go with the same vendors, so we can only assume a percentage increase over the cost that we're getting for 2025. Now, we did receive the bids and the estimates for the fall pressure washing for this year, so we took those and we added a 5% on top of that as well for 2026. That's going to be the $10,605 that you see there. Then for the gutter cleaning, we're adding gutter cleaning for all service areas. That's going to be, we're projecting a gutter cleaning expense for 2025 of $3,140, and we're adding a 5% on top of that for next year at $3,717. Then for the termite bond, we have seen with Florida Pass that for 2024 to 2025, we saw an 8% increase. So we're estimated that it's going to be a similar increase for next year. So we're assuming an 8% increase from 2025 to 2026 as well. Moving on to administrative expenses, we added $100 per placeholder for any residents who would like to request the coupon books to make payments. Each coupon book is $10. We're not assuming, of course, that all 59 doors are going to order coupon books. So we just added there 10 of them. We have the budget mailings. We're doing $2 per door. This includes the stamps, this includes the envelopes, and the monthly fee that we pay for our picnic bowl service, which is the one that we use for all mailings. We have an additional $500 placeholder for professional and legal fees for any potential inquiries that we might have for next year. And then another line item that is a big driver for the increase on this budget is going to be the CROA admin fee. All service areas are seeing a 26.7%, if I'm not mistaken, increase on this line. This is a pass-through from CROA for the shared services that we provide, all service areas as well. And then for the reserve fund allocation, we're keeping that flat to 2025 at $145,000. Even though per the reserve study plan, their actual recommendation is going to be $190,000. This is a 24% increase over the actual recommendation. And with this is how you get to the 8.6% increase for next year.
Can we start at the top in investments? So it says we're going to have $986.76 in investments. There is no way off of $900,000 at 3%, we're only making $986.76.
That's off of investments of just your
Yeah.
operating cash. Investments of your reserves are funding the reserve, or going straight into the reserve.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I was like, what is this?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's the investments off of where we moved over to the money market account. Is that correct? Or what is that $986?
So within this line, we also see finance charges. So if we get any late payments, and we charge finance charges.
Oh, you charge, okay, that's a chart, that's a, okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, your investments, since you have, you have.
You currently
couple
don't
different
have-
versions.
Yeah, you don't have any investments on the operating side, all of your
Oh,
investments are coming.
in the reserve,
Yeah.
in reserve. Question on that too, because we asked for, where was it? I want to say it was, oh yeah, on June 24th, the last meeting, that we
Yes.
moved our operating fund into a money market. I don't know if that ever got.
Yeah, I got the email. I'm a little bit behind on those, but I'm gonna get back to you all, either by the end of this week or early next week.
Okay,
With
perfect.
all of that, yes.
And then we also talked about operating expenses moving into short-term CDs and some stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
all right, when you get back to that, we'll do it. Okay, so, let's go to the one that is not you guys' fault, but is total bullshit with CDD. The tree thing, $95 per door.
So,
So we just did a tree trimming.
Mhm.
I know George wants to cut some more trees. We don't want to cut any more trees, so he's either gonna have to switch the grass to citrus blue or something that grows in the shade. So I did a calculation on this because of what we need to do for trees, just to give you a better idea. So if we did a tree trimming, right? The last few times I've done it, it's been about $650 a tree to trim. And, when I figured the cost, because you need to trim trees about every 7 years and how long they grow, it ends up being about $7.80 per door per year. So if we started this year, in 7 years, we'd have enough money to trim those trees. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
That's so,
what we're categorizing this line onto and why we're suggesting it, and again, we can remove it.
yeah, of course, of course.
It's just, we put this in a suggestion as we're seeing basically anything tree related. We're seeing expenses from whether it's removing a tree, doing a tree replacement by the house, what we've been doing with the roots for some of these trees.
Yeah,
Any type of tree expense, they've been wiping out a lot of the funds in the landscaping not in contract line.
yeah.
Those service areas. And so we just wanted to basically separate those out and kind of call out or 2 points, one for those and then one for just the arbor trimming, which yours is one of the few communities that already has started that type of work.
Sure.
To put a call out here at, an amount, we were just basing a $95 a door. That can be adjusted. Some surface areas like Island Village, that only has very small trees. So we were suggesting $30 a door on theirs too. That line we're completely open to the committee's adjustment on. Same with the, you have one of the best funded landscape non-contract lines, which is why you're able to do to do more in your landscaping.
Sure.
And that's why we recommended keeping that one flat. But if it's also something that based off the conversation I just, or the information I just shared, that you're like, hey, we like it, but maybe we want to do $3,000 and let's move 3,000 from landscaping to that line instead of a surplus for the first year. We're open to that as well. We were just starting.
Okay, so let's put a hold on that. Okay, so then the next one, sidewalk and fence repair, this $500. What is that? Is it, I thought sidewalks was CBD.
This is going to be your lead path sidewalks. So not the main sidewalk, but the steps.
From
and
the
then-
steps to the home.
Mhm. If there's issues there, and then the fence repair is just anything we want to do with caps or anything item like that.
We have
Usually,
Yeah, so that probably should.
is that there? Yeah, I mean,
And we don't have a lot allocated to that at this point, so,
Yeah, exactly. And we need some there.
yeah, so.
yeah, I mean, if you didn't fund this line, you could just not fund it and any expenses here
Go
would
into
be
general.
going into general maintenance.
Yeah.
Yours is actually one of the few, I think it's because you have the wrought iron fences
Yeah,
that actually has this as a separate line item. Most, any of those are categorized under general expenses.
I mean,
Let's keep it just because then we can track it.
yeah, I agree. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. So let's keep that, we'll keep that.
Do you want to lower the general maintenance by $500?
I think 500 is fine. I mean, I've only seen like 3 caps so far on the streets that are missing that we need to replace, so there's not a whole lot that needs to be done there yet. So I think that's fine. The next two I have, this fall pressure washing. Like the flats, I get it when we do the flats and it looks great. We need to do the flats again soon. Because we're already starting to get the algae and stuff again on the thing, but I haven't noticed anything on the homes themselves that actually need the exterior $10,000. I mean, Rod, have you noticed that on your street or
No.
anything?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, so I think
No.
we could probably take that down to the same as the flats and just do 2 flats a year, and then maybe every other year we do a big clean of the whole house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a fine recommendation. Just the one caveat to share is that's tied into the, kind of contractual requirements is why we write it in. If the committee, yeah.
Yeah.
And if the, well, and also into the documents of just service area charter responsibilities, but we can change it and you can do that. If, what it brings up though, is if this year let's say if you don't want to do 2026, you want to do it either way. If you skip a full pressure washing, it kind of comes to what we had this conversations and email with the gutter cleaning, where if we skip a full pressure washing for that year,
Then it's up to the homeowner.
it's up to the homeowner. If they receive a violation that their soffit's dirty, then they're gonna say, whoa, I pay my service area fees, and then we just have to have those conversations. Hey, due to how review of the budget, the committee was in line with the board's approval of pulling that off for 1 year, and that means it's between cycles, which puts it back on a homeowner.
Well,
Outside of the flats.
what I think we should do is take each line item. So let's say right now we've got basically $14,000, right? To spend on flats and the overall cost. So let's say we take that down to,
Okay.
we definitely want to do flats twice a year. So there's 37, what's that? That's 4, that's 8, right?
Mhm.
So let's say we take the whole line, instead of being 14,000, we take the whole line to like 11,000. And that way, some of it carries over to the next year, and that gives us enough for the whole. Does that make sense?
It does, it's just not gonna reflect that way, because by the end of the next year, we just look at what's your surplus of operating cash.
Yeah.
And in that sense, you would just say, well, we're just gonna eat it out of operating cash that year.
That's what
and
I'm
make
looking
an
at.
adjustment, or we're funding it every other year, and we just make a note on the side there saying, so we could drop. Basically, since we know that this year, and we plan to do a fall pressure washing this year, 10,100. We could say that the committee is recommending omitting the 10,605 next year, or reducing it to 3,200, like you said, same as a. To do
What-
flats only.
I'd rather not have the surprise the next year is what I'm saying. So I'm trying to average it out. So over every 2 years, I'm having enough money that we don't have to keep raising it, right? So instead of doing 14 this year, let's do 11 or whatever it is. That gives me enough for 2 flats plus a surplus, that then the next year when it carries over the surplus, you got enough to fund it. And then every year it rolls like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you're saying it won't, that surplus won't stay on this line. It gets thrown
Yeah,
back in.
but I know what he's trying to say is, then if we remove it next year, it's gonna help the percentage this year, but it's gonna hurt next year's percentage, and then year after year, it's gonna adjust that.
Yeah,
Same.
I'm trying to average out some big increase every year. So the funds would just roll over and we'd have funds left over.
So you're suggesting taking this year with the full pressure washing and not do it for next year, or vice versa?
Vice versa.
Vice versa.
So this year we would do flats again, which we need this coming year. And then the fall pressure washing would go to the year after. So, let's say the flats are like 3,200 and then you do 3,200. So you got 2 lines that are 3,200, right? But what I'm saying is give me an excess line. Maybe we call it a reserves for whatever it is, for full pressure washing.
Yeah.
But maybe we add another line, right? So you got 3,200, and then the next line is another, whatever.
So
4,000.
if you do decide, to go for next year and not do the whole full pressure washing, just do the flats and keep it at $3,200, that's gonna reduce your dues for next year. But it's not gonna change anything on this year. And if you have a surplus at the end of the year for this year, that's not gonna have an impact on your budget for the next year either.
So
So you're gonna keep that extra cash on your bank account that you can use for any emergencies operational wise next year.
Yeah, it'll carry over.
Yeah, it wouldn't change the percentage increase that we might have for next year. That was gonna have an impact on your percentage increase for next year. If it's you drop the number of 10,605 for next year to 3,200.
So his suggestion is put it in the middle at like 7,000. That way, 1 year you're putting the extra surplus of the in the 2,800 that you're not spending on a full into the surplus or into operating, knowing that next year you're gonna be over by that same amount.
We're already over. Like, so if you, let's say that we put in the forecast, you're saying changing this number to $7,000, this number?
Yeah, I'm saying, so that's 2025, so this year,
Yeah.
we're only gonna do flats again this year, so that number, we would say, we're only gonna spend the 3,068, whatever, so we're gonna have a surplus of $7,000.
Well, remember that your budget was $10,000 originally, so if you do 3,000 here, your surplus will be only 4,000, not 10,000.
Right, because it's the spring and the fall.
Yeah, but the 4,000 will carry over.
The 4,000 cash is gonna carry over, yes, unless we go over budget in other lines, that over budget is gonna get eaten by what you're saving here.
Yeah, so I'm trying not to do that, so what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, can we add a line that says, instead of fall pressure washing, maybe it says, by year, whatever, every year, how do we say that, every year fall pressure washing, and it's a line for $5,000 instead of 3,000 or so, or whatever.
Kind of like to be funding that line and then take out of that line to cover for the.
Exactly, so it funds itself every other year, and then we still have 2 pressure washings a year that are for the flats.
I mean, we can do that, like at the end of the day, we're gonna end up with the same percentage increase, maybe not from year over year, but in 2 or 3 years, we're gonna end up with the same increase.
Yeah, I'm trying to even it out, so
Instead of seeing a jump one year, if you do it and next year you're not doing it, it lowers the budget and it raises the budget.
Yeah, but then you're going, I know you guys have a good like up to today in the operating fund, you guys have $192,000, which is a lot of money.
yeah.
So yes, we can do that, of course, like that will put like a little bit more pressure on your operating budget, like making sure that we're not going over budget in other lines to make sure that we have enough money to do
Sure.
competitive expenses and the reserve allocation as well. But yeah, I mean,
So let's say we had a line out there that says, so we say we have spring pressure washing flats, fall pressure washing flats, and then it says, the next line would be like, full pressure washing every 2 years, right? And so you got a 3,000, whatever it is, 3,250, and then we split out,
You accumulate that surplus 4,000
yeah,
and then you have it for.
exactly. So we're only gonna save about $2,000, but still it's something else. Does that make sense?
yeah, I kind of that third line, for the 2-year pressure washing and just add $4,000, $5,000. So are we certain that we can just like change this and just do the flats? And not having to absorb the whole $10,000?
It would need to be approved by the board, but yeah, I mean, if it's the committees, we can, the committee can provide a recommendation to the board that they don't want to do it and that they want it to fall back on a homeowner for that cycle. And if the board approves that, then we can move forward with that.
Because if we lower that to $3,000 and then we add an additional line for $4,000,
You say
at the end of the day, we're gonna stay at the same number, basically. We're gonna have like a 3,000 here, 3,000 here, that's gonna be 6,000, and then we're adding an additional 4,000 or 5,000, we're gonna end up like a very similar number for this year as well.
Yeah, you're gonna end up saving about $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. But $2,000 here, $2,000 there, and all of a sudden you got big numbers.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So the next one,
I mean, I just want to ask the one question of them, since your accounts are in good financial standing, do you, as a committee, do you want to pass another burden on to your association for potential cleaning of the?
I mean, I don't think that we
They are paying contractual dues to have that done.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're passing on another burden. I mean, the way I look at this stuff, and the gutter cleaning, because when, there is that thing that says you're responsible for this, you're responsible for that, which is not a legal document, by the way. That is not in the charter or in the amendments, so we don't have to follow any of those guidelines, really.
Correct. It's a simplification of what the charter and amendments are.
Exactly, but it's not in there, and it's not voted on by Crow. So when you look at it, like this year, did we need the gutters cleaned this year? Some of them, yeah, because they found like five freaking rags in the thing next to me. There was a whole bag full of rags from the painters, not from leaves or anything. So we had the gutters cleaned to fix the painting problem, which we had before, which he wasn't here, and I wish he had been, so he could kick some ass. Because the painters, even though they're great guys, I mean, the guy in town's awesome. I love Chris, but his guys neglected a lot of things, and we didn't fix it because Rosewood didn't want to fix it. So, you know, when you look at things like gutter cleaning annually, like, do we need a gutter cleaning annually? No, but we shouldn't say like, hey, we're not gonna do it this year, and oops, homeowner, it's on you if it doesn't happen. No, we should keep the money and save the money, and if we need the money, great, and if we don't need the money, don't spend it, right? So like, I don't want to do a gutter cleaning next year because we just did one this year, and what we found in them was mainly rags. It wasn't
Not natural.
natural. So it's not that we need one next year, right? So I definitely want to take that off. But if it comes up next year and all of a sudden we have some crazy hurricane that comes through and leaves fill all the gutters, I want to say, you know what, we're spending the money. Like, it's not a like, oh, sorry, you didn't do it this year, so you're screwed. It's on the homeowner. It shouldn't be that way.
And that's just the one thing I want to get clear, Smitty. So if we do this and we do the full thing every other year with setting the money aside, you know, on the off year, we don't do it, and there's a violation or a stain or whatever, then that automatically falls back on the unit owner.
I don't think it should. I think it should be, we plan to do it every other year. And if it comes up that there's a violation, then we go, hey, you know what, we had to spend the money.
I'm not sure if I want to put that back on our people, on our residents.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to. I mean,
And I don't think that's how the bylaws, I mean, I think you're required to provide the service. It's not necessarily the interval, right? So I think that's where it could get, you know, and I think that's where, and again, look, it is an advisory committee at the end of the day. So it is something that ultimately the board does have to approve and review. But with that said, I do think the board should obviously take your feedback into consideration. And if there's good justification, and it sounds like, you know, this is being well discussed and thought out.
Sure.
I think the concern is, right, obviously, had we not done the gutter cleaning, what would have happened with those rags? And I know there's a little pushback this year. So I just think there has to be a little bit of balance with some of that.
So that's what I'm getting at here, Charles. Some of these services are required. There's not a timeline required in the charter or the amended part that's just for Academy Road. So while we have another sheet here that says, oh, this is going to be yearly, this is going to be this, and that. That's not a legal sheet. That's just a sheet that was a suggestion by somebody. I don't know who it was. So I just don't want to spend money where we don't need to spend money. So, you know, if we get the next year, we need the gutters cleaned, great, we'll clean the gutters. If we need a full outside cleaning because of community standards, great, we'll do it. But I don't want to like put it on the agenda as, yes, we are doing this when we may not need it and we just blew $10,000 that we didn't need to blow.
So Mike,
Does that make sense?
yes, I just want to circle back to what does that then reflect to the budgeting for next year? I think I just want to make sure what I'm understanding is correct. Are you wanting then to budget for some of these in full, but only then assess at that time if we need to do it? And then you have the money so you can do it if you want to? Or are you wanting to not budget for them?
Well, so
If we need to do it.
it's a good question. It's a good question. So this year in our budget, we have $10,100 for the full cleaning on the outside, which we're saying right now it doesn't need to be done, so we just need the flats done. So that means I'm gonna have a $7,000 surplus this year. Of money, right? That can carry over next year if we needed it.
Well, this year it's planned to be done. I mean, the contract's being drafted and it was approved by the board to do the pressure washing.
So this is the part that gets me, like, the board, CROA, doesn't come to the service committee and go, hey, you know what? How's your area look this year? They just go, screw it. They can spend the money. Like that's not right.
So we talked about that. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, man. So I asked that question. We talked about that. And one of the questions I had was, because I know pressure washing has been a contentious topic. And it's not just Academy Row, it's been in one or two other service areas. And Jacob brought it up, obviously, with something like this, the practice is not to send it to every single service area and get you all to look at it, review it, approve the scope, all that, just because of the size, complexity, scale, what have you. I'm not saying that's right. That's something I think we need to look at, obviously, going forward, and we could take that and extrapolate it onto some other projects. With that said, I do think as we're going into this budget cycle with some of the other headwinds and things that are just costing more, I do think that should be part of the dialogue. But again, this is your one shot with the budget meeting. Like, are you confident by doing this, you're not going to need it sometime next year? Because I think where Jacob and the team is saying you don't want to have a shortfall in your budget. And so and it sounds like you all are being thoughtful about this. I think this is good dialogue. Let me
And-
pause there.
Yeah,
And
so,
to be clear, you can't, I mean, they're in a different scenario where they have a large surplus and they're operating, where if they don't want to budget for it, knowing that they may run as an overage,
we just do it next year.
they could,
Yeah.
that is a different case. It's not something you want to create a standard of, because in long term, you'll run out of your overage and you can do that. But in that sense, you do have that this committee does have a little more
Leeway.
options some more options on the table.
So yeah, I'd like to put that into a couple line items if we can, and then next year, if that's okay with you, Rod,
Yeah.
we say, we don't need the full cleaning next year, we just want the flats.
Yeah, and I'm good with that because we have the latitude where if we're walking and it's looking ugly,
We can do
then
it,
pull the trigger.
we can pull the trigger,
Yeah. I just don't want it falling back on the residents.
100%, I agree 100% on that.
And the reason why you want to split it is just like to keep track of it, because we can just, like, let's say that we're gonna do just the flats for next year. And that's gonna be under $4,000. So we can still fund the full watching line up to $10,000. And you guys we go to the board, we put in the request that we just want to do the flats. We just do $4,000 and we keep the surplus of the $6,000. And that's in line without having to add an extra line to your budget.
Well, but then what keeps the Crow from pulling the trigger and doing it? We
Just like
want
they did this
Yeah,
year,
we want the separate line so that it is beyond
very
understanding,
clear.
very understanding that this is to be used every other year. This is an accumulation to be used every other
Yeah,
year.
well, they're gonna make the connection because we're gonna.
Yeah,
that
we'll
line
carve you out. Yeah,
something.
we'll carve you out of the scope. Yeah,
Okay.
when we issue the RFP, we'll just make sure that. And again, that's a Alex and Jacob expectation, right? That we don't.
Yeah.
There will just we have to carve out to certain, for Academy Road. We'll just make sure just to simply not include you or include you as based on
Yeah.
what you've dictated in the.
That we
budget.
can do.
Okay, perfect,
I'm good with that.
all right, good, let's do that then.
Any other?
So we added a line, we're gonna take that to, so
So-
both of them would be 3250.
Yeah, we're gonna provide another version of this with the committee's recommendation, and it has adjustments to pressure washing.
Yeah,
Okay, we got that captured.
so both those would be 3250, and then we're gonna, add another maybe $3,000 so that we got surplus for the year after. Does that make sense?
Yes, you're wanting fall pressure washing to read about 6 and change.
So it'd be, so you'd have spring pressure washing 3,200,
Mhm.
fall pressure washing 3,200. Because that would be the flats again. And then you have another line that would say, every 2-year full pressure washing. And let's put that at
Yeah.
$4,000. And that way we'll have enough every couple of years.
I apologize, Rod and Smithy. I have to jump for another call. Is there anything, I wanted to at least listen in for a bit. Is there anything?
Oh, yeah, let's jump down to one real quick here, Charles. So the Crow administrative fee, since I've been on this board, that fee has gone up almost double. I don't ever remember getting called to a meeting from Crow that says, hey, service areas, what do you think about us doubling your fees? Also, it says Crow CJC budget. CJC has nothing to do with the service area legally in the documents. I looked it up. So
That's not true. That's not true. That's not
Charles,
true.
do you want me to provide my just real quick high level
Yeah,
of where
yeah,
we
you
got from
just-
here? And then I'll,
Let me just answer, and I want you to dig into that. There is service being provided through Jacob, through members of the management staff, where their salaries do flow through CJC. So it is not a direct function of CJC, but there is the service that funnels through it. So Jacob, go ahead. I want to make sure we just run through this because this is a good analysis, and I think this will answer not all, but some of your questions, Smithy.
so I'm gonna give you a little version I've been giving just as service areas on the back.
can you blow that up? Because it's,
Yes, I can, just some.
I got a little that.
On some background, and so when Grand Manners jumped into the boat here, and started taking over or managing Celebration.
Yep.
The Crow admin fee they received, it was a flat number around this, 18 or 2,000 sorry, 1,082. And was then divided by the amount of doors, and then that doors brings you to the rate per association. So it's a flat number, by door, and then that gives each service area their number. We didn't really know what created this number.
Gotcha.
And so every year past then, it's gone up by either the board, inflation of the board total amount, and then in the more previous years, just a flat 4% increase. But it always has been questioned by service areas, it's too much, or I don't know, what does this cover? And we haven't been able to give a good answer on that.
Mhm.
Whenever we were doing, for the canola cost sharing agreement with CROA, we did a time analysis study of a lot of our staff and of what time is spent on canola functions. We took that same model, since we had just done it, and did that for service areas. Not knowing what it would show, we had no goal to raise service area admin fees, as it doesn't change anything on this side of the table,
I know, it changed your salary.
yeah, so, but what that came up to say was that we were seeing from, a percentage of time on 100% being all time available in a work week, that your service area admin staff, 100% is dedicated to service areas, as it should be. And then you have some different percentages, the general manager, 20%, executive director, 5%. Some of the larger one is going to be your resident service manager, who does your water bills, also the electrical bills, and then resident services does any general inquiries or billing or all that. So that's those percentages out there. Based off of the compensation for those employees, it created a salary total of about $300,000. And then we did the same study on any contractual, basically, if they were to be split off and get their own management company to do service areas only.
Which we can. I have one right now that pays 14,000 a month for the same number of doors as Academy Road. I'm sorry, 14,000 a year.
So with that said, we have, what the contractual benefits would be, the burden rate, and a percentage increase, office space, CJC, insurance, IT costs, and then audit costs. That would bring it to a higher number. And we pass this to the board as such, saying, hey, here's this, take it as you may. But the recommendation was we don't need to pass off the full 4,000 to service area or 400,000 to service areas.
Yeah.
But to get at least a number that says what makes this number up, let's base it just off of time spent of the staff here in celebration on service areas on that number here. And we provided that to the board and to the finance committee. The finance committee decided in favor of moving forward with that at a 2-year step up. So this year it's looking at a 26.9 for 2026. And then a step up next year looking to reach that 305 and then leveling off.
All right, so here's the deal. First of all, we're residents too, so that time that's 5% for the executive director is a bullshit number because we pay that in our pro fees. So you can say the 100% of the service area managers are us for sure. I agree with that. All this other stuff is included in our pro fees that we also pay and every person in town pays. So some of this should be taken off.
So that 5%, again, is for all service areas collectively, not just on one. And the item is if these were paid, let's just do, let's take your director of facilities. If the director of facilities, as you're saying, is 100% paid from CROA fees, then when they spend 5% of their time dedicated solely to the work inside service areas, that doesn't show fairness to all CROA residents, as the work that's being performed is not for the CROA association. That 5% is on service areas.
But the 95% is.
And the 95% still being paid by CROA at 95%.
But what I'm getting at is the service areas, it is a part of CROA and celebration as a whole. So if the service areas went to crap, then the town is in trouble. There's a lot of service areas. So spending 5% of the time on that should be covered by CROA. That should be covered under the CROA.
You have to remember there. I'm sorry, Red. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, but the thing about it, if they agree with that, CROA fees would go up by 5%.
Well, I know that's the problem here, though. We're not sharing the cost across the entire town. We're sharing we're carrying the burden of this because they got screwed by Canova this year. They're gonna get screwed even worse next year, and we're sharing part of this because CJC needed to balance their budget.
No. Look, we're gonna have honest conversation here. That's not the reality here. The reality is there are 14 service areas, right, Jay? 14, is that how many we're at?
Yes.
Okay, there are 14 service areas. There are 14 sets of projects, 14, 10 commit, 9 committees, 10 committees, different things that are happening just by virtue of running an association with a $9-10 million budget. I don't think and let's also take a look at where we were before. We were not able to articulate what that administrative fee was. So I know in talking with you in the past, maybe that had been a major topic for you. What are you paying? This is what it is.
It still is, because I don't have a say in this increase ever. None of the service areas do.
So okay, let's talk about this a little bit more. So you basically would say you want to peel back, say 5% of executive director, because you don't think that Lauren is supporting 5%.
Here's what I want to do, Charles. I want to triple bid this out to other management companies and see what the number comes back as. And then you guys match that number.
That's not how, I mean.
Don't we have to triple bid pressure washing and gutter cleaning and everything else?
These are salaries and time spent. How would we bid? I'm trying to understand where you're going with that.
I get it. So think about it now. I'm on a condo board that has a similar amount of homes. They charge $14,000 a year for their management company. That guy that's the management company got condo board there that comes out all the time. He also has 14 areas or 15 areas of other homes and everything else. So my point is, that salary is getting paid across those 14 somehow. So these should be able to too. I'm not trying to take salaries away from these guys by any means. I think they do a great job. But what I'm saying is there is excess money that we're paying outside of their salaries. We're paying more than what that is, which should be covered under our CROA fees that we're already paying.
You're also realizing the scale of a 4,500 homeowner association, whereas I don't know if you would realize that. So you've got economies of scale in various ways, whether that be through communications, IT, what have you. So I hear everything you're saying, and I'm curious about it too. But I can tell you definitively, this is something that we talked about with CJC. There were actual time studies into. Is it perfect? Probably not. But where we were again last year of being, we were all just shaking our head like, I don't know. We don't know what that is. So if there are specific items where you don't think that you're getting that value, we should talk about it. But obviously, again, that's beyond Academy Row. This is a much larger conversation. And this has been vetted too with the finance committee.
We're just never invited to the floor for that conversation. And I actually want to see the YouTube videos that we have for the CJC Pro, whatever this meeting was, and see the financial records, which we are allowed to see per Florida statute 720.303.
100%.
So
I just like to, I feel like this should continue, but
we got to move on something else.
in this matter, is between, you or your service area committee and the board, because this is the line that we're passed through.
I get it. It's just a $6,000 increase in the budget.
Right, and that's my real quick, for informational purposes only, the $6,000 increase is part of a multi-year deal where we're trying to right-size income with expenses.
Yes, sir. So you'll see an adjustment this year, and it's proposed to see a slightly similar but smaller adjustment next year. And then and then maybe taper off to nothing or a CPI percentage, but not anything jumping.
So like next year, it's going to be another $3,000.
Right, but I understand. I just wanted to make sure that's what it was. Okay.
And so let's change one other thing on here. Let's change the gutters to every 3 years. So just make the number a third of what it is. We'll do that on a 3-year cycle.
Okay, recommend funding the gutters on a 3-year cycle.
Yep.
And let's take the trees out for now.
I'm going to hop off. Smithy, I'll reach out to you. Sorry, I think we should continue this because I think we all have a lot of questions. So let's connect to a little later.
A ton of questions on it.
So we're going to remove trees total?
I think so. We just cut the trees.
Because that's because we haven't had that before, so.
No, and we got landscaping money that we can.
Yep. So
Got it.
I'll change the gutters to 33% of what it's showing.
Correct. And then while we got some time left, I got a whole bunch of agenda items. Just because we have a meeting. I've got questions on the reserves. I've got that we should look at. Do you want to bring up the reserves?
Oh, your reserves? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, not that I'm trying to take anything away from you guys at all.
I know, and that's why it's one of those, I like to just be clear to everyone that that number's not going into a pocket. It's the same.
Well, it's not going to you guys.
Yeah, it's the same, our agreements are the same whether the service areas pay $10 or
I know.
$1,000 on it, but
Yeah, I know. So, on the reserve
yeah, sure.
sheet.
Okay, the funding plan or expenditure sheet?
I'll take either one.
Oh, I am sharing it, but I'm not on that screen.
Um, so funding plan, if you look at this, if you look at, 2025, it's notes reserves at the beginning of the year, 476,352. We've basically got double that now, I think, Ray, right? Is that what the,
Yeah, up to July 30th, you guys have over $700,000.
right? And then we have some extra sitting in a,
So we share, yeah, that we're looking at, when we do the reserve contributions, we often look at, and where do we expect you to be at the end of this year?
yeah,
Which we expect the end of this year to be around 807,000. Is that so correct? Trevor? Okay,
Yeah.
so 807,000 is what you're expected in of 2022 or 2025, sorry.
So-
Which here it shows exactly what you're saying, that it's expecting you at 650,000. So
yeah.
you're above, and we are in line with, yes.
Exactly. So I was wondering can we change this sheet? I don't know if you just have a PDF of this or you have, to reflect our new reserve money so it would roll out on the sheet, so we would know our projection basically.
We can't, because they're done by the reserve studies.
Yeah.
It's part of that like auditing process.
Okay,
But what we can do though is make note, and they're gonna know these notes too when they're back in 2 years' time.
okay,
And so we really just need to focus on the next 3 years of this, because we are gonna redo this in 2 years' time. And those will take into account your live numbers as of that point in time.
perfect. Can we look at the other reserve study real quick, the expenditures?
So this one, but this is like to Ray's point, and we would agree, it's suggesting that you spend $190,000 in your contribution next year, which we weren't even in line with that. We were saying, because your budget is looking at 140.
Yeah.
So that's us acknowledging, you don't need to make that full contribution because, like you said, you have plenty.
Yeah.
Still contribute, don't run too low that you're gonna hurt yourself in the future. Or we also wanted to make sure we were considering that you weren't gonna hurt yourself in the sense of, holding a budget steady for in the future, like run short now, but that way you don't see a huge increase to your
Yes.
reserve expenses in 3 years' time because we ran short now. So that's why we will hold it flat.
That's why I want to do expenditures, because I think we got a lot here that we can look at.
And I like that idea that, some of the meetings we had in Crow last year where the numbers made my nose bleed.
Oh, yeah,
Let's plan where, we have increases, but they're moderate.
There's some scary things where you can say, hey, I can run 0 for 2 years, but then that's gonna mean a 20% in year 3.
Exactly.
We would rather you just do a 3% over 3 years, and it's gonna help everyone's pockets, but
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Well, you said it better than me.
just gonna pull this one up like this, so we can see it in more full. This one doesn't love being zoomed out or.
Yeah, no, but I can look at it right here. So,
Okay.
the first line item should be concrete sidewalk shared and partial. Is that
Yes.
is that the part we were talking about that's between from where the steps in to where the main sidewalk is? Is that?
That as well as some of the back entry sidewalks on the common space,
Okay, all right. So
which we do have one that we noted on our walkthrough recently and Mulberry that we need to take action on. It's the end unit on Celebration Avenue where the sidewalk is really popped up in tree roots. We're gonna need to do some sidewalk replacement.
and is that CDD or is that us?
It's us, because it's not the main sidewalk, it's the driveway sidewalk into the garden.
Okay,
I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking
I
about.
saw one of those missing a fence too on the Mulberry. So one in the corner over here is missing the back.
Yeah, we saw that and we're gonna start looking into getting quotes to fix that side, because it's like 6 inches above grade, and we're that's not safe.
So the next two metal fences and vinyl fences, I doubt these are gonna need to be replaced. We've talked about this before, that maybe there's a few things that we're gonna need to do over time, but I think these two numbers
Oh, that you have 30, in 2027, you have $132,000 for vinyl fence repairs.
Yeah, and then 64 for the other. So I think both of these probably are not gonna need to be redone. If anything, maybe a couple of doors are gonna need to be done, but not.
Nope, and that's, you're saying exactly what we say to most service areas when it comes to that vinyl fence line, is that, hey, let's do an audit that year and
Yeah.
see what needs to be replaced or repaired, and let's do that, but there's no point to rip it all out and replace it just because you have the funds sitting.
Exactly.
So would this be just the vinyl
The white
facing,
fences.
right, this facing the alley or even though, because some of it
In
runs
between your homes.
between homes too? Okay.
Yeah. And then there's those wrought iron fences on
Right.
campus. So then, the next one, you go down to irrigation systems, controller space, irrigation, all this stuff. We've been replacing most of this year. That's why we've got those huge numbers. So most of the irrigation has been replaced this year. So I doubt we're gonna need to spend any of this. You know, if anything, it's gonna be small, not.
Anything regarding a system, especially for that line that's the controller's phase, we're gonna even do this on another service area where, I mean, you see it's funded.
Yeah, we just replaced those last year, with the water sensors and the whole deal.
Okay, last year, though, not this year.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah, I was gonna say, any types of those, you can even escalate those expenses in your reserve. So if those were cataloged in this year, we could already even do a reclassification of it and drop it, pull it out of your operating and make it and tie it to this line as an escalated expense, knowing that you're not gonna spend that much. Just a thing to note in the future, if we have
Yeah, good
anything
enough.
else to replace
yeah.
on irrigation. That's some irrigations are specifically a line that I'm looking at recommending to the service areas, hey, fix it when it needs fixed, because you're not gonna necessarily follow that funding plan. And you're not gonna necessarily replace your entire underground system every 30 years either. You can use those funds slightly as you need it. We gotta be very careful. We want to act very careful on escalating funds always.
Right.
But if it's one of those, if it's funded at $30,000 in 10 years and you want to use $3,000 this year, that's
Yeah,
in line.
we got 31,000.
Mhm.
There's no way to do that.
So we spent that money now, that would reduce this number? When you say escalating expenses, is that how that works?
Escalate, so, this is saying that, the experts are saying that you want to redo your metal fences in 2029 at $64,000. You as a committee, and we would all agree, you're not gonna need to spend $60,000 that year.
We might need to, and we already put in the ones for the caps, that's all.
Which means that this year, if you need to spend 1,000, maybe 2,000 for little things,
Right.
we would even be in line with a recommendation of using those funds now. It's highly, you gotta be very cautious of when you're escalating things in your reserve study, because they're not intended to do that.
Gotcha.
And you can start shorting major projects if you start pulling too far in advance. But,
What I'm pointing out here, Rod, is we have extra money in our reserves already.
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, one last one I want to point out, and then I want to talk about roofs real quick. So, there's trellises on Academy Row and trellises on Meeting House Green. We've got 54,000 and 59,400 to replace them. We only have 10 total now, but yeah.
Between the ones that have been
So
removed.
there's 8 on campus and 2 on, Mulberry. That's it. And I think one more is going on campus soon. So that would,
That would be a good audit. So when we do, they were already taking place when I started the walkthroughs.
Yeah.
No, I mean when the reserve advisors come out, they walk the property for about 2 weeks and they create this, but they often heavily use the study before.
okay,
But in this sense, in 2 years' time, when we redo this, that's a great call out to tell them like, hey, we have 30 arbors and we only have 10 remaining.
yeah.
We just tell them, we don't have to do much legwork. We just need to inform them of that and say, please edit this. And then that way it's caught up in the next one.
So the one thing I would like to add to the reserve study, and Alex, maybe you can help with this, is eventually what we're trying to do is level all this money out, right? So not every year we're paying more reserves. So there will come a time when we got to replace this roof, we got to replace flashing, all this kind of stuff. I would rather look at replacing flashing with copper flashing, which I know is going to be crazy expensive, but it would last 100 years and then you only do it once. So your reserves level out, right? And the roof, I mean, we got to talk to an insurance person about it, but they have these new, I don't know if you guys have seen them. We'd have to get it approved by ARC, but it's called a metal shingle roof. And it looks like slate roofing basically, and it lasts for 7 years. And so again, that would spread our cost further in reserves, so our reserves would level out, right?
Yeah.
It would cost a little more upfront, those are more expensive, but I love when we do a reserve study, or if we have somebody to come out to look at that and kind of give us estimates.
Yeah.
So we know like, hey, right now we've got, I think we got about 800,000 in roofing or whatever, that's for our next roofing, but we're gonna have to spend this to get to this number.
My recommend, and what I feel like should have probably happened in the past is in the quarterly meetings before we know, because usually they come out in the fall. I've learned they come out in the fall. So maybe at, Q1, Q2,
Yeah,
we sit with the committees, and that'll be in 2000, it was 25, so 26. No, it was 24, 25, 6, 7, 2027, in the first few quarters, sit down with the committee and do exactly this again.
yeah,
But then it's those notes to say that we just pass straight to them, saying, hey, these are the discrepancies we have, please redo it and to match this, so we're not having these conversations.
yeah, because the problem I've seen with all of these committees and, that have been on our HOA boards, and Rob Trees, the same thing is most people have a timeline of about 4 years that they're only gonna stay at these places, and so they want to just see the cost for their 4 years, just stay. They don't care about anybody else.
Right.
And then the other people get screwed later because everything goes up, right? Labor costs, everything else. So I'm trying to change the mentality of the thinking on these to say, hey, you know what? We should really be thinking about these long-term and the overall price long-term of what we're gonna pay every month in our reserves, everything else, because not only does that affect the value of the home and what you can sell it for, because the next person's gonna have to pay so much per month more, but it also, helps increase our property value just with nicer items, right? So that's one thing. Okay, so we're out of reserve. So I got just a couple more things real quick. This won't take too long. Wall repair at 501 Campus Street that hasn't been done yet. That was, Delise may remember this one. This is, yeah, remember when we took that roof, it was like 11-foot long.
For today.
The wall repair? Oh, perfect. There you go.
Wall repair there, yeah, we noticed something that walkthrough too, and that was, I think the lease was even like, this is still, yeah. But yeah, it's scheduled to be done.
So then we had another spot over at, I think it's 527, it's the one right next to 531, whichever that is. On the 535. On that one, it had the wall that had the hole in it where the cables went under. We talked about spray foaming that to keep the, just to keep the water from getting there. Just a spray foam thing. And then that's the, we want to talk about the landscaping. So George was supposed to start on August 28th, on starting to replace grass and everything, but he wanted to cut trees, which we don't want to do. And I went and looked over in Rod's area yesterday on his street, and that grass looks terrible.
The curve.
The easement,
Yeah, that whole, we just replaced all that for like
Yep.
$6,000. It looks terrible. So I don't really want to start replacing new grass anywhere else.
no, we walked with him and mentioned that, and he's starting different treatments on that.
Yeah, so I want to wait until we figure out what's going on with their grass before we put in new grass, because even at the front of campus in Mulberry where they put in the new grass, it looks worse than the old grass.
Did he say it was watering or is it a fungus? Did he say?
This was,
It's both,
it
actually.
was a mixture of like fungus, that. and-
Lead to the other.
Yeah, so
Now, I would agree those, I mean, I know we rushed that because we wasn't done before school and we paused that.
Yeah.
Since it's paused, I would agree, get through this heat, that's any sod we're seeing laid anywhere, it's just struggling.
Yeah.
Because it's 100 degrees and the other issue that we're seeing too is this lockhold of humidity is creating fungus and it's not allowing the grass to do what it needs to do.
yeah,
So let's lower, I'm in agreement, wait a little bit if that's what you wanted.
yeah, I think so. So I'll tell George we're gonna wait on that. And you guys can too, of course. I'm still working on the parking thing. I'll let you know on that when I hear back. And then I think that in one of the meetings, Rod, we need to talk about, once they find out if that artificial turf can live in the back that's over my area and all that stuff, we need to talk about the alleyways and what we're gonna do with those.
I was talking with community standards yesterday. I'm like, they're gonna ask about that. Where are we? And it's still it's still waiting on ARC approval, which is not going to, they're not gonna approve, in my opinion, but we'll wait and see. Cause I was like, they're gonna ask about that sod. Is it approved yet?
Yeah, and you don't have this on your street yet, Rob, but we've got people cutting holes in the walls that are housing units.
I saw the
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that
That
crazy?
air conditioner.
Did you see that? The gutter with all the wiring going?
yeah, that was
Somebody put the air conditioner and ran the electrical wires in the gutter channel.
Exposed. Exposed electrical wires right through the guy.
Yeah, so they're in an active covenants process right now.
There is a Your Street route I saw in between some of the homes, and we might want to ask covenants about it. Somebody left construction material like in buckets and stuff in between the homes. There's a couple of them there. It looks like somebody just ran and left it. I don't think the homeowner left it, but I saw a couple of spots where there's like buckets of old construction material when I was walking yesterday. Hey, this was a good meeting. Alex, I'm glad you were here. Jacob, always good to see you.
Oh, Ray.
Great, all right. Great. Is he?
You guys are big financial standing, which makes these conversations a bit easier, so.
We're just
gonna
a
make some adjustments.
We're just a pain,
Yeah,
but,
so,
I mean, I wrote that, we're in complete note or in complete alignment with the defunding the tree line.
yes,
So we're gonna provide a budget that has that, and then we're gonna provide two budgets. One that has the breakout of the gutters and the gutter reduction and of the power washing changes to, and saying this is the committee's recommendation. And then we'll be providing one that's kind of similar to what it is, saying this is what if it's standing as continual funding. And we are highly seeking the board to talk to the committee or,
yeah.
we don't want this to be put on.
Shouldn't be, shouldn't be put on you guys. Listen, I know I'm forceful on some of these items. It's not on you guys.
No, this is
I
why,
like you guys.
but I want to make sure that then it's clear to everyone then too.
Yeah.
This is they should breeze over that. They should make a decision based on, because either way it goes, it's going to, unfortunately, I don't think we have a win-win to make everyone in the service area happy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have people unhappy if we're not pressure washing. We're gonna have people happy if we're saving funds and doing everything.
Yeah.
So,
And we can talk to them about that.
I mean, those are things that as long as it's,
And the reason I wanted to point out that,
we'll do it.
the reason I wanted to point out the irrigation line, and that we've done most of it already, is because that could fund trees, if we need trees. If we only need $5,000 for trees, $6,000, you got 100 and something grand in the irrigation line. We got plenty of money.
but that word is biennial. We were thinking about when something is done every 2 years. What's that word? It's biennial.
Biannual.
It's biennial. Biannual is.
Is
Twice a year, biennial.
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 So many people.
I learned something new.
But that means twice a year, not every two.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I learned something new.
Biennial. All right, so I'll conclude this. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Hey,
Thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate your efforts.
Yeah.